Well, hello everyone. It's Brandon and Carrie again, and we're actually coming to you a day later than we initially intended. Our plan was to do one of these videos last night, but we had a very busy day yesterday, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But we were so exhausted when we got home that we sat down on the couch, and we actually set alarms for ourselves to make sure that we woke up and we were able to do this video, but that didn't work out. So we ended up sleeping through the alarms and slept through the night, which we had a fairly restful night. But anyway, so that's why we're coming to you here tonight. So as we have been doing, wanted to give you an update on how things have been going. I've been getting lots of questions, phone calls, text messages, and so forth. And so wanted to give everyone out there an update. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for all of your words of encouragement and even checking in with us to see how we're doing. That means a lot. So yesterday, we'll start with that. We had been planning for a few weeks now a very special day for our children, a time for them to get out and forget about everything that's happening here at home. And so there's this new recreation center in our community out here in Latrobe. It's called the Battle Zone. And I had never been there, but I drove past it several times, and so I called them up and asked if they do group outings, and thankfully they did. So we rented out the place for not only our children, but also for the children of the LMCA, which is Laurel Mountain Classical Academy. Our kids went there last year. It is part of their homeschooling education. They also went to LMCA for some supplemental classes. So anyway, the folks at the LMCA have been very kind to us, and they've been making meals and writing cards and so forth. So we wanted our kids again to have a time where they could get out and get away from all of the I guess just the heaviness of the situation that they're dealing with here, and then have some time to spend with their friends. So we had a great time there. The folks at Battle Zone were very kind in accommodating us. The kids thoroughly enjoyed themselves, and so...
Not just the kids. There were a couple adults that enjoyed themselves.
That's true. Yeah, we won't name any names. They know who they are, and they probably woke up quite sore this morning. So anyway, great time there at the Battle Zone. And so... Not only did we have that yesterday, which was in the early afternoon, which was actually subsequent to the chemo and radiation in the morning, but then we had the American Heritage Girls and Cadets, which I guess is kind of where the backstory all began. Anyway, so the kids had that last night. So we didn't get home until maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, 9:30.
And so after putting our kids to bed, we sat down, and that's when we conked out. So, but today was day 7 of the treatment, so I guess officially 1 week is in the books. It was day 7 of chemo. It was day 5 of the radiation because I have the weekends off, Saturday and Sunday. Just to kind of update you on how all of that is going. The weekend was rather rough for me. First 3 days weren't too bad. So, and as I mentioned, I tried to stay off the Zofran, the nausea medication. Just I tried to avoid taking 2 medications in general. But Saturday was pretty rough. I was feeling sick for most of the day. Didn't do much of anything. Sunday, I was completely knocked out, and actually got to the point where, not to be too gross or graphic, but I was vomiting. So I decided I was going to bite the bullet and take the pill on Monday, the Zofran, and it did help. The nausea wasn't nearly as bad, and thankfully I was able to go out and while I didn't participate in the Battle Zone activities, I was able to watch and enjoy that. So that was good, and I was actually able to eat, whereas over the weekend I lost my appetite, which actually has benefits as well as drawbacks.
I don't like to lose my appetite.
Yeah, I could afford to lose my appetite for a few days, but in all seriousness, it's not a good thing. I need to be giving my body good nutrients to try to rebuild some good cells and then also to boost my immune system. So, the Sunday I didn't eat much of anything. Actually, chicken noodle soup, I think, was about all I could stand to eat.
And matzo.
Matzo, right? Yeah, which was kind of like a saltine alternative. Carrie's on a very strict diet where she doesn't eat any yeast, right? So you can eat matzo. That's the closest thing to bread you can have. So we had some matzo around the house, and I had some matzo. So thank you to our Jewish friends out there for creating some matzo. Wasn't too bad.
Thank you.
With the chicken noodle soup. So anyway, that's what I had Sunday. And Monday, for the first half of the day, I wasn't very hungry, but then later on in the day, I was able to eat some pizza. So that was more like it, as far as more like what my typical appetite would allow. So that was yesterday. Today, went in for the radiation treatment. The chemo, as I described before, I actually administered to myself just a pill. So I had that in the morning, and believe me, as I look at that pill, I'm thinking, oh man, I hate you. In the sense that I know how you're going to make me feel later on in the day. At the same time, I'm taking it, and I'm thankful and hoping that it does what it's intended to do. So I had took the chemo this morning at I have a very specific time I have to take it each day, and then I went for radiation treatment. And then every Tuesday I have to follow up with the radiation oncologist, and his role essentially is just to ask me how things are going, ask me if I'm feeling any symptoms that are out of the ordinary. So by and large, I'm not, neither from the chemo nor from the radiation. Some of the side effects that were described to us going into it, outside of the nausea, I think that's probably been the most severe side effect that I've dealt with. All the other things that they've listed, thankfully I haven't dealt with any of that. The rash, the bruising, so far so good with that. One weird thing that came up, and I didn't know if this was exclusive to me or if this is something that everybody experienced with the radiation. So as I described before, the radiation that I'm receiving for brain cancer, I'm sure, is different than radiation that those who are being treated for other forms of cancer would receive. I have this mesh mask on my face, and then it's being administered. We learned today it's being administered to the entire right side of my brain. Sorry, I lost train of thought there. Where was I going with that? Okay, so anyway, I know where I was going. So
sorry, I couldn't help.
Yeah, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes. That's the entire time that I'm in there with the radiation, and for the first half of it, I don't really feel much of anything, and then there's this point where this buzzer comes on, and as soon as the buzzer comes on, and like I said, today was day 5, so I've experienced this all 5 days. I get this very chemically taste in my mouth, and the best way I can describe it is, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this, if you go into a hotel pool, an indoor pool, and you have that very strong smell of chlorine, it's so strong you can taste it in your mouth. That's what I taste, and it only lasts about 3 to 5 seconds, if that, and then it goes away. But it's every time. It's the buzzer, and I have the taste in my mouth. And I mentioned that to the radiation oncologist today, and he said he hadn't heard that before, and he said it could be something, when the radiation is affecting a certain part of my brain that elicits that taste in my mouth. He said it isn't anything that's coming from the machine. And I said, well, maybe it's kind of like Pavlov's dogs. I'm being conditioned for something. Hear the buzzer, experience the taste. So It's not the most pleasant taste. I think I'd rather taste pizza. But
who wouldn't?
Yeah. Anyway, so chlorine is what I get. So that isn't the most pleasant, but other than that, from the radiation, I feel a little bit of dry skin. They said I'll probably feel a sunburn type feeling, and if I do feel that at this point, it's ever so mild. So thankfully, here we are after 5 days, after 7 days of chemo. Things are going well from the standpoint that I'm not feeling all that bad. Again, the nausea is not pleasant, and I think what makes that the most unpleasant, especially once I started taking the Zofran, if I had to rate the level of nausea on a scale 1 to 10, I'd probably put it at about a 3. It's tolerable, but it is fairly constant. In fact, the only time that I don't feel it is after I eat. I guess like when my stomach's full, it goes away for a little bit, but then it does come back. So even right now, as I'm talking to you, I don't feel terrific, but it could be a lot worse. So anyway, I'm thankful for the fact that things are going fairly well.
I did want to say one thing that the doctor told us today was that it looked like, from reading from the notes, about how it started off as a grade 2. Do you remember whenever he said that?
Yeah.
It looked like it started off as a less aggressive tumor that grew into the grade 4.
Right. Yes.
Which I guess that's what took so long with the having the testing come back.
Right.
And I just didn't know if we wanted to mention that.
Sure. And so the radiation oncologist shared it with us, and he said that Dr. Mantica, who is the neuro-oncologist who's leading the team of doctors, that she would be able to perhaps provide more insight into what that means, but that was new for us.
Yeah.
And I do remember, and Carrie mentioned this before, that the early information that we were getting, both from the surgeon and then also when we went to Hillman the first time, is they were deliberating over if this was a grade 2 or a grade 4. And then later on we found out that they were no longer considering the grade 2 possibility. But he said, I don't know if this was new information that he had received or if he just spent more time reading over the notes, but they did determine that, I guess, again, as Carrie said, this was a grade 2 that quickly evolved into a grade 4 recently.
Yeah.
So how long I would have had the grade 2, I'm not certain. And when we follow up with Dr. Mantica, which I have an appointment coming up early in March with her, I'll ask her that. At this point, I don't know that it matters. And in fact, the radiation oncologist today said he's not even certain what that means from a prognosis standpoint. Was it better that that this was a grade 2 that became a grade 4, or would it have been better if it started off as grade 4?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was just new information I thought that we should share.
Yeah.
Was interesting, and I think that I want to look that up a little bit on my own to see if that changes anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like how fast will it grow? Then is it better or worse that it was like from a 2 to 4, or would it be 4 worse? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Also, one of the things as we've been doing these videos that I've tried to avoid is giving shout outs or acknowledgments, whatever you'd prefer there with your vernacular, with giving people recognition for doing things for us. One, because there are just so many people who have done things for us, and two, I don't want to leave anybody out. However, I do want to acknowledge a couple of local businesses who have reached out to us in a very tangible way by providing us with meals, and that is the Subway in Latrobe, up across from Latrobe Chevy and Ford there. The owner participated in the meal train that was put together for us by some wonderful people in the community. And so we had Subway dinner, was it Saturday? It was over the weekend, I think. And then today we had another local restaurant, which is the Pickled Chef. They brought us dinner. So again, I don't say this in any way to leave out all of the individuals and the families who have brought us dinners. And we've been super blessed.
It really means so much to me that I don't have to think about that at all. And that is just such a massive weight lifted off of my shoulders. And I'm just so thankful to everyone that does that.
Right.
I mean, I know we all benefit, but for me, it's just huge.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And but again, I do want to acknowledge those two restaurants in the community, and don't withhold your patronage from them. I'll give a little plug. All right, so that's kind of the updates that we've had. It's been funny as we've had a chance to go out a little bit, particularly when we went out for the kids on Monday. We've had a few people stop us and say, "Hey, I recognize you from the video." So, not again in any way that we're doing this for self-promotion, doing this primarily to be able to communicate with everyone in probably the easiest way that we can, because so many have reached out to us to ask us what's going on. So this is a way for us to keep you all updated, and again, it's a way for us to monitor not only me and how I might be progressing or regressing, if I guess that would be the right word, throughout this process, and just to see how I'm functioning cognitively, but also too hopefully one day, if it comes to it, this will be a way for us to archive this experience for our children and for them to get to see us through it. As I've done with the other videos, I do want to wrap this one up with a Bible verse. And some of the time when I've done this, the Bible verses came to me right away, and other times I've had to really think about it. And one of the things that I've certainly learned throughout this process is that there are people going through very similar, if not much worse situations than what we are right now. I see it every day that I go to the Arnold Palmer Cancer Center with all the people in the waiting room. It's amazing to me. I mean, I've driven past that facility many times, both for work and to visit family and whatever, and never really thought much about it. But here, I don't know how many people go in there every day, but it's more than a couple handfuls, and people experiencing very difficult circumstances with cancer treatments. And I know there was one guy there today who made a comment about how he has been going there for 6 years. There are people we've met along the way who have shared stories about their loved ones, some of them who have survived cancer, some of them who have not. And so it certainly has caused me to slow down and recognize that many people are suffering. It's not just cancer. There are many other issues that people are dealing with and tragedies that people experience. So, while I could possibly look at my situation and feel badly for myself, there's no reason for me to. And perhaps it's just giving me greater empathy for those who are also going through a difficult time. So anyway, that was all said to preface this Bible verse, and this is from 1 Peter 5, verses 10 and 11, and it says, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. To him be the dominion forever and ever. Amen." And that part there about suffering, and there are many of us who are suffering in various ways. It's not, as I said, it's certainly not an exclusive situation that I'm dealing with. And so I guess, what I could say to all of you out there is, if you are suffering, know that you're not alone. And if you know people in your life who are going through a difficult time, as many of you have with me, take the time to talk with them, to acknowledge their situation, to pray for them, and just to let them know that they're not alone. So I encourage you all to do that. So that's all from us tonight, unless you have anything to add, Carrie. I like that you participated more in this one. I could hear the calls out there. It kind of reminded me of that Saturday Night Live skit where they're clamoring for more cowbell. I heard people out there yelling for more Carrie.
Am I a cowbell?
No, that's not what I was saying.
Trying to say?
Not at all. But people wanted to hear more of Carrie, and so they got to hear a little more from you.
I'm pretty sure
tonight.
that people don't.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's it from us. Have a good night and have a blessed day. Take care.